Never used a machete before, as you can tell. Oh, shh. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Happy Father's Day to you too, man. Yeah, I'm honestly really frustrated this morning. Let me turn on the volume for this. I'm a little frustrated. I've had major internet problems. I don't want to take you guys through the full rant or issue because I just want to get started with this video that I was supposed to do hours ago. But there was major issues this morning. I called Comcast. I got the same runaround BS. They're sending another technician out. I reached out to customer service on Twitter. It's been a bunch of stuff. And so I lost out on several things this morning.
Yeah, I can believe this. We're actually going back towards the trail.
We can start now. Let me get this thing started. I lost out on several things this morning. One, the audience. And nobody's going to hang around waiting for 2 hours for me to start this when the video's already up on the other channel, one of the Tampa channels. The other thing, too, is I already used up all my notifications for the day playing around with Comcast. It's really, really frustrating with Comcast. It's just a whole barrage of issues. I'm not even sure how somebody could run a business off of using Comcast because it's so unreliable and there's always issues. It's crazy. It's crazy. People have been out here so many times already. But the consolation is they sent me a $20 credit. Not even 20, $19.97. It's like a spit in your face. Here's $19.97. Shut up. But anyway, let me woosah. We're gonna get off of that and we're gonna get into this the trial. Okay, I was talking about this during the weekend. I was talking about this for the last couple of days. I was excited for this. Missed out on like 2-3 hours of this crap. And you know, I could move on. I could have just left it, but I'm that type of person that I'm just committed. Fuck it. If we have 5 people in here and that's what we got to do to watch this shit, I'm gonna ride this shit through with 5 people and whatever, because this is what I said I was gonna do. I was dead set on doing this thing, so that's fine, yo. But it's like, let me see. It's quite a bit a ways in. So at least 2 hours. And so for people that watch the rebroadcast, I'll put a timestamp down below. I'm going to start playing this. I made a little modification for the audio so you guys could hear it a little bit better, because like I've always said, for some reason with the news people, the audio only comes out of one ear. I found out a way that I could, without having to edit the video, I can make the audio come out of both ears. So I did that. We're going to watch this. We're going to listen. And for the people that are here, thank you. And I appreciate you coming back. And you don't even know how frustrated I am. And especially when it comes to technology, I will break stuff. I haven't broke stuff, but I feel like I could. I don't want people like, oh, see, he's crazy. I told you. So let's get started. Man. I got my little Celsius. I got another Celsius. It's my second one. I got my little electrolyte. I got a bottle of water somewhere. And I got a little special something because, bro, I was like... I even changed my shirt. If you guys know, I'm in a different shirt. I was like, yo, I'm gonna take off this shirt. I was pissed. You ever get you're pissed off, you're dealing with something, and then your clothes just starts annoying you too. You're just frustrated for no reason at your clothes. It's like tight. You got a little stain here. You're trying to get out. I was pissed, man. Pissed. But we're gonna get through this. So here we go. Let's start.
Defended Ronnie O'Neal, he burned, stabbed, eviscerated.
And the audio is a little bit low. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of extra gain. So I'm gonna just tap it a little bit so you can at least hear it on your end a little bit better.
The little boy that you see
Hopefully.
later in those photographs by Tampa General Hospital. His son at that point.
I'm gonna add a little bit more actually for you guys. Let's try 5.
Is still fine, physically. And he says, Ronnie, sit the fuck down before I kill you, bitch ass.
Ninja.
I want to apologize in advance for some of the...
Can you guys hear them all right? Is it loud enough for you guys on your end?
...language I might use this morning, and I don't mean to offend anybody by any means, but when I'm doing an exact quote, I want to get the language exactly right. So,
hello?
Please try not to be offended by some of the language I might use this morning in quoting from this 911 call.
Hello.
So his son, Ronnie Blair, at the time, Ronnie O'Neal IV is nearby, even though he doesn't remember that.
Yeah, this is Comcast?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to inform you, this call is monitored and recorded for quality and training purposes. And I am from the Advanced Technical Support Team. Fix your issue as soon as possible. So, Mr. Melvin, your case was escalated to the Advanced Technical Support Team. Fix your issue, and now I can see your devices has a good signal strength. Before, there was a signal interruption, and that's the reason the services weren't working fine. But now the signal is good. Can you check if your internet is working fine now?
Yes, the internet is working fine right now. After hours.
Great. You can keep enjoying.
Huh?
Yeah, you can keep enjoying the services now, and the internet won't go off again, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else I can help you with the Xfinity services, sir?
No.
Okay, so I will go ahead and cancel the technician for you as your issue has been fixed, okay?
Wait, what'd you say about the technician?
Cancel the technician for you from our side, okay? It has been taken care.
What's going on with the technician? Are they still coming or what?
Like, we have fixed your issue and your internet will not go again off.
I don't know that it's working. Every time you guys come out every month, twice a month, and it works, then it doesn't work. All right, I gotta go. All right. Anyway, I just wanted you guys to hear that for a second. I don't have time to mess around with these people because it's just a waste of time. We're here right now, but I just wanted you guys to hear the bullshit that I deal with these people every time. Comcast, and I was just holding back because I don't want to go too much back and forth with him because we're live streaming and I want to get this shit done. But so you guys know the shit that I've been dealing with for months and months and months and months and months. And then this morning when I was trying to get this thing going on, and then this guy that sounds like a robot calls me, "Hello, sir. We have fixed the issue." Really? Who the fuck is that guy? And when he called me, it says scam likely. Yo. All right. Let's get back to this. I think I'm going to blow up one day, though, because I'm really holding back. Let's get back to this. Let's focus. All right. Hello, sir. Just letting you know it's fixed now.
After he beats Kenyatta Barron to death. And we'll probably talk more about that later. But what that little 8-year-old boy was about to witness was just brutality beyond imagination. As this defendant, Ronnie O'Neal III, went in that house and in front of his son, took an axe, a hatchet, and brutally beat his 9-year-old special needs daughter to death with a hatchet. His 9-year-old daughter, who couldn't even protest, who couldn't even beg for her life the way her mother had just done, who couldn't even say, "Daddy, no, please stop." She was incapable of even that, of begging for her life. But that didn't stop the defendant. Then after he beat his daughter to death with a hatchet, he doused her in gasoline and set her on fire in the master bedroom and closed the door. And then he set fire to her bedroom. Remember, the empty gas can, the red gas can, is found in Ronivia's room. And there was evidence of ignition, a separate ignition in that room, as opposed to, along with the master bedroom. And then when he'd run out of gasoline, he went and got the lawnmower out of the garage and wheeled it in to the dining room. And you can see the cap from the gas tank of that lawnmower is laying on the floor in the garage. And he brings it in the dining room and he may have tried to tip it over and spill gas, as the investigator, Investigator James Bacon, told you. But at some point, he tries to turn it into some kind of improvised Molotov cocktail by putting some paper in it and using it as a wick. And then he focuses his rage on his son, his 8-year-old son, stabbing him repeatedly in the neck and in the abdomen, attempting to eviscerate him, and then he pours gasoline on him. The jacket that Ronnie O'Neal IV, now Ronnie Blair, was wearing that night was sent off to the fire lab, and Perry Kusiafis, the lab chemist, told you that that tested positive for the presence of an accelerant. And when little Ronnie Blair was in an ambulance being transported to a soccer field so he could be choppered to Tampa General Hospital, he regains consciousness, and he tells Lieutenant Veronica Vivi, "My dad shot my mom," or "My dad killed my mom." She wasn't sure which, but she remembered it was one of those two. The state's burden in this case and in any criminal case is to prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and we have met our burden, and we've
Oh, Jesus Christ.
that burden. Recall during jury selection, I went through kind of a silly scenario about a burglary that was occurring, and this is kind of an extreme example just to illustrate that distinction between beyond a reasonable doubt, which is our burden, and beyond every shadow of a doubt. But ladies and gentlemen, the state has gone way beyond a reasonable doubt here. You can have no doubt in your mind that this defendant, Ronnie O'Neal III, is guilty of all these crimes: the murder of Kenyatta Barron, the murder of his daughter, Ronnie O'Neal, the attempted murder of his son, now Ronnie Blair, arson, aggravated child abuse ×2, and resisting an officer without violence. The evidence against this defendant is mountainous. It is overwhelming, and it proves beyond every shadow of a doubt that he's guilty. The evidence against him is overwhelming for one reason and one reason only, and that's because he is guilty. The evidence is not overwhelming because of some kind of a conspiracy that you might hear from the defendant
later. Really quick, for the ignorant people in the chat that are dumb, let me just tell you this. Yes, the stream is behind. I explained what happened this morning. If the stream is behind compared to the stream that was on or is on right now, why are you here instead of watching the video that's currently live right now playing? All right, don't be an idiot. Don't be a smartass. I'll block you. The other video is still active, right? So why did you stop watching the video that's ahead just to come back here and watch this? So please, with the stupidity, I'm not here for it this morning. Don't be a dumbass. I will block you. If that's your concern, you should go watch the video that's currently playing now. Why would you leave that video and come here? All right. I can't with these idiots. I can't.
This is the defendant, Ronnie O'Neal, shortly after his arrest on the morning of March 19th. Looking like he's been working in a butcher shop, covered with the blood of the mother of his children and the blood of his children. And reeking of gasoline. The gasoline that he tried to use
to
cover up his unspeakable brutality, and with burns on both of his arms.
Boom. Bye, boom. There was a bunch of little people upset on their little alternate accounts commenting. Bye. Keep watching. Appreciate you being subscribed.
It's been a long, difficult couple of weeks, and there's still some work ahead, but we're almost at the end now. And I know there have been times when the trial seems to have dragged, and you probably thought some of the evidence and testimony was boring and tedious, and I apologize for that. There's only so much you can do sometimes to make DNA testimony, for instance, riveting. But this 911 call that you've heard a number of times is just an immensely critical piece of evidence It is a gold mine of evidence in this case, and every bit of it points to the guilt of the defendant, Ronnie O'Neal III. You're going to have that call back there in evidence to listen to, and I strongly encourage you to listen to it as many times as you need to satisfy your conscience that the defendant is guilty. Because I promise you, every time you listen to this, you'll hear something new that you hadn't heard before. Listen to the actual 911 call, which is in State's Exhibit 1. And listen particularly, I think, to the call that was downloaded from Kenyatta Barron's phone, because I think it's much clearer, and you're not getting the interference from the 911 operator's voice.
You can hear you hear him in the background. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. If for the people that are joining, I know the people that are saying those comments, they're just being stupid. They know what's going on, but they just want to do whatever. But yeah, we had internet connection issues, and so we're playing from the beginning because I haven't watched it because I was waiting to watch it with you guys. So if you've already watched this, you can either sit here and join us for the watching it, or if not and you don't want to watch it again, then you don't have to be here. That's it. It's that simple. But I haven't watched it yet, so we're watching it right now.
And what you hear there is the defendant again yelling at his little boy, at his 8-year-old son.
It's crazy.
Say Allahu Akbar. He does it 3 times, and you can hear the little voice of this little boy responding with his own Allahu Akbar. 3 times he responds. And the significance of this is that Kenyatta Barron is already on 911. She's already calling 911 and frantically saying, "Help me, please help me." And she's so frantic that she gets her address wrong when they ask her address. But Ronnie O'Neal IV, now Ronnie Blair, he's still fine. Physically, he's still fine. And Kenyatta Barron is in that closet, terrified of the defendants.
Thank you, Sugar and Spice. Appreciate that. Love you.
Now you hear what the defendant says there. He says, again, he's obviously talking to his son here. He says, "Now get in here and kill this bitch. I don't give a fuck. You heard what I said. Now get in here and kill this bitch, or I'll kill." And then he gets cut off here because Kenyatta Barron says something.
Bro, that dude, I'm gonna try not to interject too much, but he's going fucking. I'm gonna try not to curse too much either. I'm in my up mode, but dude's Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Like, what the heck? He was trying to make it seem before, like, yeah, he may have said it once. No, this dude was like frantic.
Kenyatta Barron is trying to appease him. She's telling him, "I'm so sorry, Ronnie. I'm so sorry. I love you, Ronnie." And she's calling him by name here. There's nobody else there. This is the defendant she's talking to. "I'm so sorry, Ronnie." Over and over again.
Bro, that's kind of scary. That's crazy as hell.
Right there, he said, "Hey, Junior, go in there and get me an MFing knife. This is at about 1:18 in this recording. He's talking to his son, telling his son to go get a knife. He says there, now he's cut off by Kenyatta when she says, I can't, you shot me in my arm. But right before that, he says, come out of the MFing, and then he's cut off by Kenyatta's voice. Right there, again, you have to listen very closely to get some of this stuff. He says, get your ass out of the closet. All this time, everything you've heard up until now has been Kenyatta Barron in that closet in her daughter's room, hiding from him. The closet door with multiple holes in it. This is from a slug. It's about 4 feet high here, and 2 from birdshot lower. This is blood on the inside of that door, the inside of that closet door.
Wow.
That was swabbed by crime scene investigator Terry Wagner, and when that was tested at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, that's Kenyatta Barron's blood on the inside of that door, where she's hiding from the defendant. More blood on the floor. This is the back wall. This shows where that slug went into the wall at about 4.5 feet. According to the medical examiner, Kenyatta Barron was about 5'2".
Oh my God! I didn't know this was going to be here.
Is that wound from that slug?
Holy shit!
Through from her front of her shoulder to the back of her shoulder, through some children's clothes that was hanging up there, and into the back wall of that closet. And you saw that slug. It's got some red fabric or red thread still attached to it from going through the children's clothes that was also hanging in that closet.
Wow! Wow! I did not know it was gonna be that graphic. Holy! Wow! I haven't watched this, by the way. I was waiting to try to get my thing going. I had all these issues.
Junior, get your ass in here now. Again, obviously yelling at his son, who he just told to go get a knife. Bring it on out. And then, where the fuck is the knife? And then you can hear 8-year-old little Ronnie Blair in the background here when he says, where the fuck is the knife? You can hear him crying. You can hear his cries. And what you hear here now, while the defendant's distracted with his son, who's failed him, who's failed to get the knife that he was sent for, this is where Kenyatta Barron makes a run for it. In desperation.
Thanks, Josie, for the super chat.
still trying to get his son to come help him kill his own mother. He's trying to get his son to help him finish killing Kenyatta Barron, not even realizing that the job's already been done, that he's already finished it, and he gets no response. Right now, come out here and help me kill this bitch now.
Now! Allahu Akbar!
And he screams one more time, Allahu Akbar, but this time, there's no response from his son.
Bro, this is insane. Insane. To actually hear the call, man, it's like,
He fucking killed me! What's that? You killed him. Call 911 now, quick! Quick! Call 911! Quick!
And that's the defendant coming in contact with James Gray, who identified his voice on this call, just as he described, coming face to face with the defendant, standing there with something in his right hand, which is something metallic, and ladies and gentlemen, that was obviously some piece of the shotgun that he still had in his right hand. The shotgun that he shattered into a dozen pieces or so, beating Kenyatta Barron to death. He's holding part of that in his right hand, and in his left hand, he's still got a hold of Kenyatta Barron's arm. When James Gray comes out of that house and confronts him face to face, just a few feet away. And now, he's been caught literally red-handed, standing there with an implement in his hand, holding on to the lifeless arm of the mother of his children. So what's the first thing that comes to mind? She tried to kill me. You don't understand, she tried to kill me. And then he flees. He doesn't flee, he runs back to his house again next door. And he knows now that he's been identified. He's come face to face with somebody who knows who he is and knows where he lives. He can be identified. So his first instinct is self-defense. She tried to kill me. Then he tries to bolster that by actually calling 911 himself. And you heard his own 911 call.
and we spoke about that. Like I said, I'm not going to interject too much. I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to let it ride. But like we spoke about the timeline previously, where Keke called first 911, and then Ronnie, for the people that don't know, he calls his stepfather first, and he claims that Keke attacked him. He very briefly spoke to him, and then like 1 minute later, then calls 911, and then he's telling 911 that he was attacked. To me, it feels like he was trying to establish an alibi. Also, the whole Allah Akbar, he was trying to downplay it, like he said it one time maybe or something like that. But when you hear the 911 calls, deranged, clearly deranged. But it's kind of crazy too to see that this guy's defending himself the way he is in court. And by the way, like I said, I haven't seen this stuff, so I know that Ronnie's going to come up next, and I heard it was kind of crazy. So, but just the very beginning of this is kind of blowing me away, and just to actually hear the 911 call, like the full thing is, wow. I mean, it's crazy. So I appreciate you guys for joining me. I had all these issues this morning, but we still came through, so here we are.
Where he says, kind of paraphrasing, there are white demons inside of Keke, and she tried to kill me, and I just killed her stupid ass, quote. I just killed her stupid ass. On his own 911 call, he admits to being the one who killed Kenyatta Barron.
Ooh.
So what's going on here? Well, this is really the simplest thing in the world. This is the defendant who's now been caught, who's now been visually identified by somebody who knows who he is, now trying to manufacture some kind of self-defense claim out of this. And he's running back to his house, and he makes that 911 call. Then he calls his stepfather, Billy Smith, who testified at this trial, and says something similar. She tried to kill me, or they're trying to kill me. But there are some problems with that, of course. Not the least of which is the fact that Kenyatta Barron is just beaten to a bloody pulp. She's unrecognizable. There's not a mark on him. There's not a mark on him. He doesn't have the burns yet because he hasn't tried to set the house on fire, and he hasn't cut his finger trying to murder his little boy. But at this point, there's not a mark on him. Kenyatta Barron is just beaten to death brutally in front of the next door neighbor's house.
Beat her with a shotgun. The guy didn't come out with any marks until...
Also, what he doesn't know that she's on 911. And that's kind of obvious from the context of this whole thing. You remember at the beginning of that 911 call, she's very frantic. Please help me, help me, help me. And then when you can hear his voice getting closer, she stops. She never says another word. Kenyatta Barron never says another word to that 911 operator, but she keeps the line open because she doesn't want him to know that she's on the phone with 911. I want to switch gears a little bit. Excuse me. And talk about some of the law that I expect the judge is going to instruct you on. And I'm using some instructions here that are kind of representative. The ones that you're actually going to get back there maybe slightly different, but the parts of these instructions that I'm going to be talking about are pretty standard, and they're going to be consistent, I expect, with what you're going to see. Because she's going to tell you what it is that we have to prove in order for the defendant to be guilty of the first-degree murder, specifically right here of Kenyatta Barron. What we have to prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt, ladies and gentlemen, are what we refer to as the elements of the crime. And there are three elements to the crime of first-degree premeditated murder. Now remember, during jury selection, we talked about there are two theories that the state can proceed on for first-degree murder. There's first-degree premeditated murder, and there's first-degree felony murder. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the counts against Ronnie O'Neal. But for Kenyatta Barron, there's just one theory. We're only proceeding on the theory of first-degree premeditated murder for count one, which is the murder of Kenyatta Barron. And I expect the judge is going to tell you that the three things that the state has to prove is, number one, Kenyatta Barron is dead, and that's not in dispute. There's actually a written stipulation between the state and the defendant that element number one here has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Two is the death was caused by the criminal act of Ronnie O'Neal III, and three, there was a premeditated killing of Kenyatta Barron. So let's talk about element two, the death was caused by the criminal act of the defendant. First, the 911 call. I will come back to the 911 call again because there's no question that call is made by Kenyatta Barron. And she refers to the defendant by name over and over again on that call. I'm so sorry, Ronnie.
Thank you, Amy.
I'm sorry, Ronnie. I love you.
Thank you for the stars.
There's no question who she's talking to on this call. Second, once again, James Gray comes face to face with the defendant, somebody that he recognized, knows who he is, knows where he lives,
Search tools.
standing over the lifeless body of Kenyatta Barron. Third, the defendant's own 911 call, where he admits, I just killed her stupid ass. Fourth, I want to talk about the defendant's own witness, Khalil Brown, who was 14 years old at the time this happened and was watching from across the street. Now, there's reason to be skeptical of some of what Khalil Brown says, because he says he only sees 3 swings by the defendant across the street. And obviously, there's a lot more than that going on here, and you can hear that on the 911 call. If you listen carefully, you're probably going to count 13, 14, 15 separate blows there. Khalil Brown says he only, what he saw was 3. But there's no question about the fact that Khalil Brown says he actually saw the defendant, Ronnie O'Neal, chase Kenyatta Barron next door. He says he actually saw him shoot her, and he saw him swing 3 times, and then he describes James Gray coming out of the house and the defendant running back to his own house. So the best case scenario here is that Khalil Brown saw the defendant inflict the killing blows on Kenyatta Barron. Ladies and gentlemen, this
Yeah, thank you for the shares. Appreciate it.
is where she died. She died right there, and she ran there under her own power. She wasn't killed somewhere else and dragged there. She ran there under her own power, fleeing from him. The final blows which took her life were inflicted right there, practically on the doorstep of the house that James Gray shared with his then girlfriend, Mona Lisa Brothers. There's blood all over at this scene. This is where her head had been before she was turned over by Christopher Sanders from Hillsborough County Fire Rescue.
I still don't know what that is.
Blood and
weird
human
sound.
tissue on the door to the house. There's blood and tissue. I don't know if I'm getting this right side up. There's blood and
Seriously,
tissue on the
Comcast.
ceiling of this entranceway. So brutal was this beating. Every time he swings back with a piece of that shotgun, he's flinging pieces of Kenyatta Barron's blood and her flesh, her
Jesus
tissue,
Christ.
onto the ceiling, onto the walls. And that's where she dies. Khalil Brown does not help the defendant one bit by his testimony. He just confirms that it was the defendant, Ronnie O'Neal, who inflicted the final blows, the final seconds of Kenyatta Barron's life, right in front of the then next door neighbor's door.
Thank you, Christine, for the super chat and the likes and subs.
Based on the evidence before you in this trial, there's no other possible conclusion than that no scenario under which this defendant is not guilty of the murder of Kenyatta Barron. Which brings us to element 3, which is premeditation. I'm sorry, I'm going to come back to my jury instruction here.
There's going to be a break coming up. And for the people that don't know, I'll do a quick summary real quick when that comes up, and then we'll skip past the break. Some people haven't heard of this story.
Killing with premeditation is killing after consciously deciding to do so. The decision must be present in the mind at the time of the killing. The law does not fix the exact period of time that must pass between the formation of the premeditated intent to kill and the killing. The period of time must be long enough to allow reflection by the defendant. The premeditated intent to kill must be formed before the killing. So by the time he finally kills Kenyatta Barron, he's fired a shotgun 3 times through the closet door where she's hiding from him, where she's cowering. He's told his son, "Get in here and help me kill this bitch." He sent his son for a knife. And then when Kenyatta Barron makes a break for it, he chases her. He pursues her next door. And then when he runs out of ammunition, because remember, there's a spent shotgun shell that's found near the doormat of the Gray and Broaders residence where Kenyatta Barron's body is found. That probably came out either when he pulled the pump to get another round chamber, and then the spent shell would have ejected. Or I think it's more likely that that spent shell just came out when he shattered the shotgun, beating it on the ground, based on where it ended up, next to the tube with the spring that probably had something to do with the magazine part of the gun. Even after he struck the final killing blows, again, he's telling his son, right now, come out here and help me kill this bitch now. There's no question about what his intent is here. There's no question that this is premeditated. There's no question that he had all kinds of time for reflection. So let's talk about some of the other charges, because they all kind of emanate now from this initial murder of Kenyatta Barron. Remember when Kenyatta Barron is in her daughter's closet, and you can hear the defendant say to his son, now get in here and kill this bitch. I don't give a fuck, you heard what I said, now get in here and kill this bitch or I'll kill, before he gets cut off and it's unintelligible. This is nothing more and nothing less than a threat to his 8-year-old son, a warning that you're either with me or against me. And just prior to that, when you hear the defendant telling his son, say, Allahu Akbar, he does it 3 times and the son repeats.
By the way, on Facebook, my bad, guys. I didn't realize there was somebody spamming over there, tagging everybody and saying inbox me. I thought they did it to one person, but on Facebook, a lot of times too, these spammers will come in and they'll start tagging people. So just don't DM them and don't do whatever these people are telling you, because I don't know what they're trying to do. Be careful with that. And you know, with this time, a lot of times to the little trolls and stuff, they come and they try to get emotions and stuff like that going. But I'm gonna block that person on Facebook.
That's his son in solidarity with his father. But when he sends his son to get a knife and he comes back without the knife, or he doesn't get the knife, the defendant's angry, because now he's been betrayed. Now his son is being disloyal. And he tells him, where the fuck is the knife? And you can hear little Ronnie Blair crying in the background. And at the end, after he's bludgeoned Kenyatta Barron beyond recognition, he yells at his son, now get out here and help me kill this bitch now. And he yells once more, Allahu Akbar, but he gets no response. His son's failed him, he's become disloyal, and that's a huge problem, because now he's a witness. He can't be counted on to back up whatever self-defense claim the defendant wants to make, so he's got to go. And Ronnie too, because she was in that bedroom when the defendant was shooting at her mother through the closet. There's no way she slept through 3 shotgun blasts in her own room just a few feet away. Ronnie Blair testified that the defendant, when he came back to the house, first dragged Ronnie O'Neal by her arm back to the master bedroom. And think about that for a minute and compare to what James Gray says when he comes out and meets the defendant face to face, and he sees the defendant holding on to Kenyatta Barron's arm and holding her up by the arm. Now he's dragging her daughter by the arm back to the master bedroom, where he takes this hatchet to her. And recall the description by Ronnie Blair during his testimony, that his father, Ronnie O'Neal III, took this hatchet to his sister and he hit her and she was crying and then he hit her again, and then he hit her in the head, and he saw her eyes roll back. This is this 11-year-old boy describing this. I saw her eyes roll back, and then she didn't cry anymore after that.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Sugar and Spice came from
And Ronnie
YouTube
Blair told you that this happened
to Facebook.
on the floor, that Ronivia's body was on the floor, just inside the master bedroom. And here we have this dresser just inside the master bedroom with blood on this bottom part of this dresser here, right where Ronivia's body would have been laying while the defendant was murdering her with a hatchet. Recall the testimony of Teresa Wagner, the crime scene investigator, who took a swab from that hatchet, and then also recall that was tested. That swab from the hatchet was tested at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement by Charlene Webster, who got, first of all, a positive result for the presence of blood, and then a full DNA profile from that swab from the handle of that hatchet that matched Ronnie O'Neal. Again, consistent, corroborates the testimony of Ronnie Blair. It's also corroborated by the testimony of Dr. Mainland that based on the number and the nature of the wounds that she observed, that hatchet is consistent with the injuries that she observed to Ronnie O'Neal, who almost had her spinal cord severed, who did have her spinal cord severed internally. Now, Ronnie Blair wasn't able to tell us a lot about how he got his own injuries, and we shouldn't really be surprised by that, and I expect I'll talk some more about that at some point. But while the defendant was cross-examining him, and he asked his biological son, "Did I hurt you that night?" and his son responded, "Yes. How did I hurt you that night? You stabbed me." And the trail of blood in this house tells us something. This is these blinds from the French door, which are down the ground here in front of where the lawnmower is, in the back of the dining room. Teresa Wagner, the crime scene investigator, took a swab here from some of this blood that's deposited on these blinds. And then in the kitchen, she took another swab from the bottom of the refrigerator, which she describes as area A of the refrigerator. She took another swab of this area. Both of those swabs were sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and were a DNA match for Ronnie Blair, Ronnie O'Neal III. So we have his blood initially in the dining room area. And remember the testimony of Donald Foster from Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, how when he was feeling his way first back into this area by the French doors, that he realized he was slipping in blood. That's Ronnie O'Neal's blood. There's no other blood in the house at this point. Ronivia's injuries are all confined to that area of the master bedroom. Kenyatta Barron, when she left that bedroom closet, her daughter's bedroom closet, she fled out the front door. She's not going in the dining room or through the kitchen or through the garage. She's getting out of there the quickest way she can, and that's out the front door. All the blood that you see in the living room and dining room area and in the kitchen, and there's this big pool of blood in front of the refrigerator where we have a DNA match for Ronnie O'Neal IV, Ronnie Blair. I'm just going to call him Ronnie Blair from now on, just for simplicity's sake. He's the only one bleeding now, because the defendant's not bleeding. He doesn't have any bleeding injuries. He has a little tiny cut on his hand. That can't account for any of that blood that you see in the dining room and in the kitchen going out to the garage. That's all from little Ronnie Blair. more blood here on the light switch and the garage door opener switch just inside the garage. And to the left here, this is the entrance to the kitchen on where that would be on this side of the photograph. On the floor here is this beige shirt, and kind of behind the shirt and within this, kind of inside where this chair is, here, this overturned chair, Teresa Wagner told you that's that black jacket that you've seen a couple of times. And you were told that both of these items, this beige shirt and this black jacket, have kind of a greasy, oily feel to them. And then underneath that beige shirt is the knife blade that has the blood of Ronnie O'Neal and Ronnie Blair on it. And then up at the front of the garage is this item, which is a bottle of Wesson oil that's empty and open. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what accounts for that greasiness, that oiliness that's on that shirt, and it's on that black jacket. That black jacket, by the way, which has Ronnie Blair's blood on it in at least 8 places. Which I'll talk more about that in just a second. But remember the testimony of Perry Kousiafis, again from the fire lab, who told you that the cooking oil, like Wesson oil, is not a good accelerant. Just because its flash point is so high, you need a very hot fire to get it to vaporize, and then it'll ignite. We didn't have that here because the fire never reached the garage. But that's the defendant who's run out of gasoline because the gas can now has been used in the master bedroom and in Ronivia's room, and he's taken the lawnmower and tried to improvise some kind of a device from the lawnmower. So he's out of an effective accelerant. So he's trying to improvise again and use Wesson oil to set fire out in the garage, which obviously doesn't work. That black jacket, recall the testimony of Charlene Webster, who said that she tested 16 areas on that jacket for the presence of blood, found the presence of blood at all 16 areas, took cuttings from 8 of those areas at random. Every one of those 8 areas of that jacket was positive for the blood of Ronnie Blair. The lawnmower cap.
I'll get a copy.
Again, very close to where that jacket is found. This is that same overturned chair where that black jacket was. There's a cap to the lawnmower gas can. There's a close-up of it there.
I'll get a copy of the.
That broken knife that was found inside the garage, called the knife handle, was found just inside the garage door to the left where that broom's leading up near where the light switch is. And that knife broke. It was that broken knife. It was the fact that that knife broke that probably saved Ronnie Blair's life. He's burned, stabbed, bleeding from the abdomen with a wound open to the outside of his body, trailing blood from the dining room through the kitchen into the garage, more of his blood in the garage, and somehow he still managed to survive. And I want to pull up again State's Exhibit 7. Watch very closely, pause, very where the back of this patrol vehicle is here, you're going to be able to see little Ronnie Blair come out of that garage and collapse to the ground right here where he's attended to by one of the deputies on scene. And he comes out almost simultaneously with the defendant. Right here, where this light is now, just to the right of this deputy by the car here.
Now they're not in this angle, they're not showing it, but on the previous live streams, I think this is the video that we've watched multiple times, I believe, when the people get out there. Now, just the FYI too, I was doing a lot of things behind the scenes because I see like it looks like they might have, for some reason the video is unavailable right now on YouTube. I mean, we're playing it, but if you go to the link, for some reason it's not available. But I was able to get a backup just in case, thank God. So if this stops, we'll just pay attention to the time. But if it stops, I already have a copy of it downloaded in case. Because right now, for some reason, when you go to this link, I'm not going to mess up what I have open right now, but when you go to this link, it says this live stream recording is not available. So right now we're playing it until we can go, and then I also have a backup in case things go left, so we can finish watching this together. So I was kind of working on that. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. All right, let's keep it going.
Right here, ladies and gentlemen. There he is, and he collapses to the ground right there. You see, they're coming out of the garage together. And what's significant about that? What's significant about that is that they are together. They are together. Those injuries to Ronnie Blair, they were caused by the defendant. I'm sorry, was there an objection?
Okay,
Was
Mr.
there an
O'Neal,
objection?
okay, stop. Mr. O'Neal, you can only make legal objections. You may proceed, Mr. Gale.
So let's go back and talk about the law for a bit with regard to count 2, which is the premeditated murder of Ronnie O'Neal. And it's very similar, obviously, to the instructions having to deal with count 1 on Kenyatta Barron. Again, Ronnie O'Neal is dead. The death was caused by the criminal act of the defendant, and there was a premeditated killing of Ronnie O'Neal. Again, there's a stipulation to count 1. Ronnie O'Neal is dead. Element 2, Ronnie O'Neal's death was caused by the criminal act of the defendant. And first, you have the testimony of Ronnie Blair, who told you what he observed, how she was dragged back to the master bedroom where she was beaten to death by her father with a hatchet. And his testimony was corroborated by the blood on the hatchet, by the fact of where Ronnie O'Neal's body was found inside that master bedroom, and by the fact that there's blood right inside the door of that master bedroom where he described her being hit on the floor, and that blood that is on the bottom of that dresser in the master bedroom. And this is clearly premeditated. The defendant, after losing his shotgun by shattering his shotgun into pieces, had to rearm himself. He had to go get another weapon, and he got this hatchet. And the number of blows and the nature of the blows that caused Ronnie O'Neal's death. These are not random blows delivered in a frenzy. These are focused on her head, on her neck, these blows are obviously inflicted with murderous intent, and there's no other explanation. Over and over to the head and the neck, actually severing her spinal column. And the murder of Ronnie O'Neal occurs after the very obviously premeditated murder of Kenyatta Barron. So if there was ever time for reflection, it's kind of after you've committed one murder and you have that time to reflect, what do I do now? And then you make the decision to commit another murder and to attempt to commit a third murder. That's obvious, again, premeditation. That's all the time for reflection that you need. Now, as I said a little earlier, the murder of Ronnie O'Neal is also felony murder. And this is what I expect, or at least similar to the instruction that you're going to get on felony murder. The elements of felony murder would be that Ronnie O'Neal is dead.
I'll get a copy of the jury instructions. You'll see that they are very involved. So,
the defendant caused the death of Ronnie O'Neal. Ronnie O'Neal III was the person who actually killed Ronnie O'Neal. So the predicate offense for the felony murder here is aggravated child abuse, so we need to take a look at the aggravated child abuse instruction that I expect you're going to get from the judge. Because the first, in order to find the defendant guilty of this felony murder, you also have to find that he committed aggravated child abuse, which is defined as Ronnie O'Neal.
Copy of the jury
III
instructions.
Sorry about that, guys.
Aggravated battery upon Ronnie O'Neal, and that Ronnie O'Neal was under the age of 18, which we've proven obviously. And then there's a further instruction on the elements of aggravated battery. So we kind of have to prove a charge within a charge within a charge here to get to the felony murder. So the elements of the aggravated battery here are Ronnie O'Neal III actually and intentionally touched or struck Ronnie O'Neal against her will or caused bodily harm to Ronnie O'Neal, and in doing so he used a deadly weapon. And then deadly weapon here is further defined as any object which is likely to cause death or great bodily harm if used or threatened to be used in the ordinary and unusual manner contemplated by its design. So obviously the way that hatchet was used to murder Ronnie O'Neal, it's clearly a deadly weapon. So we've proven the aggravated child abuse, we've proven the aggravated battery upon Ronnie O'Neal, which is an element then of the aggravated child abuse, and with the proof of the aggravated child abuse, then that also becomes the basis for the felony murder charge against the defendant for Ronnie O'Neal. So for count 2 on your verdict form, you're going to have multiple choices as far as guilt of first-degree murder. So you're going to be given an option of finding the defendant guilty of premeditated first-degree murder of Ronnie O'Neal, felony murder of Ronnie O'Neal, or both premeditated and felony murder of Ronnie O'Neal. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we approve. I want to show you the instructions on attempted first-degree murder as it applies to Ronnie Blair, to the defendant's son. Element 1 is that the defendant did some act intended to cause the death of Ronnie Blair, formerly known as Ronnie O'Neal IV, that went beyond just thinking or talking about it. Element 2 is that he acted with a premeditated design to kill Ronnie Blair, formerly known as Ronnie O'Neal IV. And And element 3 is that the act would have resulted in Ronnie Blair's death, except that someone prevented him from killing Ronnie Blair, or he failed to do so. And what we have here is just a failure to do so, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Recall the testimony of Dr. Carol Lilly. Ronnie Blair had multiple stab wounds to his neck, to both sides of his neck, and an eviscerating injury to his abdomen. And also, he was set on fire. His clothes had been doused in gasoline. And you heard that from the man from the fire lab, Harry Kusiakis. When he was given the clothes belonging to Ronnie Blair to test, they tested positive for the presence of an accelerant. And then arson. Arson is count 4. 2 elements. The defendant willfully and unlawfully caused a fire. A dwelling, whether occupied or not, or the contents of the dwelling was damaged by the fire. And obviously we have both of those elements. There's a definition of dwelling down here, and obviously that includes a house that's occupied by the resident.
Give the jury.
And there's no question this fire was set intentionally. You have the testimony of the investigator, James Bacon, who said that his determination is that this was an incendiary fire, a fire that was set intentionally, based on the fact that there are multiple points of origin, both in Ronnie O'Neal's room and in the master bedroom, and at least an attempt to ignite further fire in the dining room area. You have a gas can in Ronnie O'Neal's bedroom. Obviously, a gas can doesn't belong in a little girl's bedroom. You have a lawnmower in the dining room. You also have the testimony of Investigator Bacon, that based on his observations of photographs of the injuries to the defendant, that those are consistent with flashback injuries, which are sustained by a person attempting to ignite a fire using accelerants. And multiple witnesses described the defendant that morning as having a strong odor of gasoline. First, Deputy Danilo, who put the defendant in the back of his patrol vehicle, described the defendant as just smelling very strongly of gasoline and making his car smell like gasoline. Detective Dirks, who also came in contact with the defendant in that patrol vehicle, described a strong odor of gasoline. And former crime scene investigator Maria Rosario Ramirez, who took the photographs of the defendant that morning, she described the same thing, a strong odor of gasoline on the defendant. The defendant's pants that he was wearing in the photograph that I showed you a little while ago, those were one of the items that were sent off again to the fire lab, tested positive for the presence of an accelerant. There's no question that anybody other than the defendant could have set this fire. It wasn't set by Kenyatta Barron, she's dead. It obviously wasn't set by Ronnie O'Neal, and it's not little Ronnie Blair running around splashing gasoline all over the place and trying to set this fire and bringing the lawnmower into the dining room while he's being stabbed and being eviscerated. This whole fire thing is obviously the work of the defendant, and you need to ask yourself why. Why would a Ronnie O'Neal III, who's innocent, splash gasoline all over his dead daughter and set her on fire and close the door? Why would an innocent Ronnie O'Neal III wield a lawnmower in the house and try and make some kind of makeshift Molotov cocktail out of his lawnmower inside the house? And running out of gas with no gasoline left, why would an innocent Ronnie O'Neal III attempt to use Wesson oil as an accelerant to finally light the garage on fire? And the answer to that is clear. It's because he's not innocent. These are the actions, setting this fire, is the actions of a guilty man trying desperately to destroy evidence of his crimes with whatever few minutes he has left between fire rescue and law enforcement arriving at his house. This has been a very emotional case, and the evidence and testimony has been by turns gruesome and disturbing and just heartbreaking. But the judge is going to tell you that your verdict must not be based on emotion or sympathy for anybody. But thankfully, it doesn't need to be. It is the evidence in this case, the cold, hard facts that prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that the defendant, Ronnie O'Neal III, is guilty of the first-degree premeditated murder of Kenyatta Barron, the first-degree premeditated murder and the felony murder of Ronnie O'Neal, the attempted first-degree premeditated murder of his son, Ronnie Blair, arson, aggravated child abuse on both Ronnie O'Neal and on Ronnie Blair, and resisting an officer without violence. Now the defendant's going to have an opportunity to make his closing argument, and then I'll have another opportunity to rebut that argument. So at this time, I thank you for your attention.
Okay, just a couple of things before we start. Before we continue, I guess Ronnie's going to come up now. Thank you to Jeanette.
Mr. O'Neal?
I'm almost afraid to touch this. It's okay. It's fine. To Jeanette, thank you for the stars, 200 stars. We're working on a goal on Facebook. We're almost there for the bonus stars. There was somebody too. I wanted to read the message. Jennifer, thank you again. She said, here from YouTube at Sugar and Spice. Got to show you some love on here also. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, we're going to keep watching. Like for the people that have just joined, I downloaded, for some reason, the YouTube link is not working. If you click it for some reason, right now it's working because I already had it loaded, I guess. For some reason, it's not currently working, but I downloaded it. So in case this stops or gets interrupted or whatever, I have the backup. Now, at the end of the video, I haven't watched this, but I skipped to the end on the backup. And I don't know what's going on. Like, it looks like they took a break, but I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see. I mean, I'll keep an eye. I don't know if they're going to come back or what's going to happen, you know, so. They went to lunch at the end? Okay. Yeah, I'll go live. I was having connection issues, but it looks like we're fine now. I was dealing with a whole lot this morning, but we're here, and it seems to be running fine.
Mr. O'Neal, you need to speak audibly so that the jury can hear what you're saying.
Bro, and what a weird dramatic entrance was that, right? Like the head to the sky, like looking, well, not to the sky, but like just... I thought maybe he hadn't started yet and they were like doing something. No, this is just him standing there.
Saying.
Yes, ma'am, I haven't begun yet. I was talking to my father.
Oh, to his father. Whose father? Allah?
He showed you a fraudulent recording.
Yo, is it too loud? I might have to modify it because I increased the volume for the other thing. If he's screaming now and it's too loud for you guys, let me drop it down a little bit. I didn't know this guy's gonna be screaming like that because the other guy was a little too low. All right. Probably woke up a couple people.
That I beat Kenyatta Barron to death. He talked about Mr. Khalil Brown, my neighbor who stayed across the street. But if Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen. And like I told you earlier, you will know the truth whether in this trial or the next one. Better believe it.
Or the next one.
If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God damn it, I'm not.
All right, Mr. O'Neal, please stop using swearing language. It's not appropriate in a closing argument.
Well, amped up, man. He's ready. Jesus.
Now, he played a recording that was sped up. Why didn't you play the regular recording that people can understand what the call was saying?
Objection to the defendant asking me questions, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain
I'm talking to
Okay.
people.
Mr. O'Neal, listen, please just keep in mind this is not personal towards the prosecutors. Please keep your comments directed towards the evidence and the law. Thank you.
Yeah. All these objections now. I know for a fact Kenyatta Barron's recording from her phone did not record calls sped up like that.
I'm going to object now. He's talking about facts, not in evidence of what he knows.
And people trying to.
Again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you were instructed, the closing arguments are just that. They're not the evidence or the instruction on the law. It's just what the parties believe the evidence shows or does not show. All right? Thank you.
You heard Mr. Khalil Brown. You've been hearing me for 2 weeks now, telling you that they committed criminal acts against me with the 911 calls and that fraudulent video that they just showed y'all. Now, I'm going to prove it to you. You heard Khalil Brown. He said that he was actually sure that I only hit Kenyatta Barron 3 times. You heard. I called him to tell you that.
Oh, we got it.
I ain't running from nothing. They didn't call Khalil Brown to tell you that. I did. You have to ask yourself why that is. Because I want you to know the actual facts. I did kill Kenyatta Barron. But I want you to tell it like it is if you're going to tell it. Khalil Brown told you I hit it 3 times. Now let's listen to this audio here
Oh,
that
okay.
they played for y'all,
Let's see.
where you can hear someone hitting her up to 10 to 15 times. But they want to make the excuse that Mr. Khalil Brown was 14 years old when he saw that. But you intend to use my son, who was 7.5 years old, at the time of the incident. Now ain't that something? You don't want to believe Khalil Brown because he was 14, but you're ready to believe everything my son tells you because he was 7.5. He sat here and told you what my son told you. You guys heard what my son said. And you also heard that I rebutted everything that he said because he said something totally different in the beginning of this case. Everything that he said was contradictory to what he said in the beginning of this case when Detective Thomas Dirks interviewed him. just 7 days after the event. And then they did another interview with a woman named Jennifer Miller, who's an expert at getting children to tell what happened to them. They purposely got her to do this interview because she's an expert with children. He told you that my son seen me beat his mom. My son sat right there and said, "No, I didn't see you beat my mom." He told you that my son seen me shoot his mom. My son sat right there and told you he did not see me shoot his mom. And I told you that in my opening statement. So my son verified that I was telling you the truth. My son said in trial that I ran back in the house and pulled his sister to his mom's room. But in the interview with Detective Dirks, page 9 of 23, March 26, 2018, he told Detective Dirks that his sister was already in his mom's room before we ran outside. Then he asked him, was she hurt? And was she hurt before they ran outside? And he said, yes, she was hurt before they ran outside. But you ready to believe my son, whose statements are conflicting all of a sudden because he's been adopted by a detective who worked in this case. And he was at homicide conventions with them. Mr. Richard Blair and the lead detective in his case, who had no business around him in an opening pending case. But all of a sudden, he's saying all these contradictory, inconsistent things that he did not say in the beginning of this case. Mr. Gale just told you that my son told you that I took gasoline and poured it over my daughter's body. I showed you in the interview with Miss Jennifer Miller, she asked him, did you see your dad pour gasoline anywhere in the house? And he said, no, I did not. But they are ready to use my son against me. But they weren't ready to use Khalil Brown for some reason. When he's 7 years older than my son and saw exactly what happened outside of 13246 Pike Lake Drive, where Kenyatta Barron was finally announced deceased. He saw her hit 3 times. I told you before he testified that I know I hit her 3 times. But you hear audio recording of someone excessively beating her up to 10 to 15 times. That's why I called Khalil Brown, because I know I'm telling the truth. That's why I called the police that night, because I know I did what I had to do. But that's why they hid the 911 calls from the call log. Let's look at it. Defense exhibit number 1. Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
they made the excuse that 911 calls are reflected in UTC time. But everybody knows when you call 911 from your personal phone, it shows up in Eastern Standard Time on your call log. If you call 911 at 1 o'clock and then you look at your call log, it's going to say that you called 911 is at 1 o'clock. Is that right? So this is Kenyatta Barron's call log that we pulled directly from her actual phone. Deputy Christopher Heverin testified to that for you. That he was the one who downloaded the Cellbrite download from her phone. Now this is her call log. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in here. Okay. Everybody can see Kenyatta Barron made a phone 911 call at 11:43. Or they say 11:42 and 50-something seconds, almost 11:43. So let's look at it. Let's see if we see on her call log a 911 call at 11:43. She called me and we had a phone call, and we shared a phone call at 11:15. And I told her that me and my son...
Objection to what the defendant told her on this call. It's not evidence.
Sustain the objection.
She made a phone call at 11:42. This is her calling me at 11:15. And then it jumps directly to 11:53. Her brother boss calling her. You do not see a phone call by Kenyatta Barron that night on 3/18, which is the date that this incident happened. You have to ask yourself why that is. Because I'm telling you, they falsified the audio recordings from her phone, and they falsified the 911 call to make me look like a damn menace to society. That's why I called Khalil Brown.
Hold on one second. Connection issues? Let me double check. Just give me 1 second. Let me just make sure. Okay, it bumped back up. I had a little spike there for a second, so I just wanted to make sure you guys can hear because I'm monitoring things. But it's back to normal, so I'm going to continue playing.
And you told them, Mr. Gale told you,
Fuck.
after beating Kenyatta Barron,
Starting
I
again.
told my son, or I said, the kids is mine now, bitch. Ronnie, sit the fuck down before I beat your bitch ass nigga. Or I kill your bitch ass nigga. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay, Mr. O'Neal, please. I'm not going to warn you again. Stop using offensive language unless you're quoting directly from the evidence.
My son sat right there and told you when he testified in trial that he did not come outside that night. He told you that he did not see me shoot his mom nor beat his mom. He would have had to been outside to see that. So how can I be saying to my son, Ronnie, sit the fuck down before I kill your bitch ass nigga, when he's not even outside for me to know if he's sitting or standing in the first place? The kids is mine now, bitch. Ronnie, sit the fuck down before I kill your bitch ass. Why would I want the kids to be mine if I plan to kill them? Now let's look at it. Kenyatta Barron made a call at 11:42. You see, she called me at 11:15. You see, her brother called her at 11:53, but in between those, that 911 call should be right there. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Now, if you look up a little bit, you see 3:42 on March 19th going out. Let me slide it over a little bit so y'all can see.
Sean.
Going out to 911. Kenyatta Barron was definitely dead on March 19, 2018 at 3:42. So how in the world could she call 911? Now, they say, oh, well, the calls are reflected in UTC time. This is the girl's actual phone. Everybody knows that when you call 911 or make any call, that call is going to reflect in Eastern Standard Time. Because that's the time that we operate on. Now, this doesn't even make any sense at all. Now, I'm going to come back to this, but I have to show you Kenyatta Barron's T-Mobile call log, which we pulled from the records that they sent to us, me and my standby counsel. So I have to show you her T-Mobile call log. Defense Exhibit number 4, Your Honor, now published.
Yes?
Publishing Defense Exhibit 4A.
Echo prompt was sent. Okay, let's see.
Now let's look at this. Apparently, the T-Mobile call logs are reflected in not only military time, but according to them, UTC time. But I'm going to prove that wrong right here, right now. .318. Here we are again. The date of the incident. You can see there's no 911 call. You see a call at 23:15, which she made to me, which shows that the calls are really reflected in Eastern Standard Time in regular time, not UTC time. They claim that since she made a call at 11:42, that it should appear as 3:42 on the call log. That's what they said. So military time, 23:42 would be 11:42. So let's do the math. They say UTC time is the time plus 4 hours. So she made a call at 23:42, which is 11:42 in Eastern Standard Time. 23:42, 24:42, 1:42, 2:42, 3:42. And that's why you see on her T-Mobile call log, on her actual phone call log, 3:42, slide it over, right there, her calling 911. Okay? Now let's look at it. Let's look at it. You do not see a 23:42 right here on her call log on 3:18. But you see the call she made to me at 11:15 on 3/18/2018. But all of a sudden, when I called for an investigation, the calls are reflected in UTC time. Okay, so it's not there. So that means it should be 4 hours ahead at 3:42 on March 19th, since 23:42 would be 1 hour from March 19th. So if you count the 4 hours, you will end up over into the next day at 3:19. Okay, so let's look at that. If it was reflected in UTC time, Kenyatta Barron's phone call would be this 4A still. Okay? You add 4 hours, it would be right here. But you don't see 3:42, you see 3:50. All right? You see there's no call there, 23:15, in between 23:15 and 23:53. No 911 call. Okay, it's UTC time at 3:42. Okay, let's go there. There's no call at 3:42 in between that 104 and 3:50 on March 19, 2018. Mention exhibit number 6, Your Honor. May I publish?
Yes.
Okay. Detective Dirks testified on the stand that his whole purpose for obtaining this subpoena for records, this is the subpoena for records that Detective Dirks sent to T-Mobile.
Can't see it.
Just look at it with me. I asked him, right in front of you, I said, Detective Dirks, what was your purpose for obtaining the T-Mobile call logs or for subpoenaing the T-Mobile call logs from T-Mobile? He said, because there were 911 calls made. Okay, my next question to Detective Dirks was, if that was your whole purpose, then why are the most important calls of this case missing from the call log? He couldn't answer that for you. And he beat all around the bush because they don't want you to know that they are crooked and corrupt. And they know that they could not meet their such high burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So they tampered with the face of Kenyatta Barron and put all these extra lacerations on her face.
Really?
And whoever did it is definitely going to pay. You better believe it.
Really? That's what he's saying? That they put extra lacerations on her?
Now he sent this subpoena to T-Mobile telling them, please provide subscriber information and all incoming and outgoing toll information for target numbers 813. Well, this one was Kenyatta Barron's phone at first, 765-5036. From the date range of February 19, 2018 to March 23rd, 2018. So that 911 call, since it was made on March 18, 2018 at 11:49, should have definitely been on her T-Mobile call log, which I just showed you it is not. All of a sudden, after I heard the audio and I told my counsel, that's BS. I didn't say those things. And a matter of fact, I told the neighbor, don't come outside. Call 911 now. But they took my voice off of there and made it sound like Mr. James Gray was the one said, don't come outside, call 911. He was saying that through his wife. But you seen, I showed you the CRA that Detective Dirks did. He quoted me saying she killed me and then directed the neighbor, don't come outside, call 911 now. But on the audio, they took my voice off of there saying that and made it sound like it was the neighbor, Mr. James Gray. Now, why would they do something like that? The 911 call should have definitely been on there because it was part of the toll information that he requested.
Yeah. He's claiming it was self-defense for people that are new. And he's claiming that the evidence was tampered with. That's his side.
Subpoenas from my phone and Kenyatta Barron's phone. Now let's get into my call. Defense Exhibit 2. Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Defense Exhibit 2A. They told you that my phone was damaged in a fire. I know for a fact when I got arrested.
I'm gonna sustain the objection. Again, you're limited to the facts that were introduced at this trial in your closing argument.
Did testify that it was burned in the fire.
Mr. O'Neal, please don't argue with me. Just follow my instructions, all right?
I'm just letting you know that part of that was legitimate.
And again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, your recollection of the evidence controls, all right? This is just the closing argument of the sides. You may proceed, Mr. O'Neal.
Thank you, Your Honor. I made a call to 911. Supposedly, they made it look like I made the call at 2349. I know for a fact I made it early.
Judge, objection again to what the defendant knows.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Again, Mr. O'Neal, you can only argue in closing argument facts that were elicited at trial. This is not where you come in and start filling in additional facts.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been instructed about this numerous times. Please follow my instructions.
Okay, Your Honor. Couple of things. He said that it was an actual fact that I killed my daughter. That's not an actual fact that was proven in trial. I didn't object, but neither did they stop. You stopped them.
Mr. O'Neal, please don't argue with me.
I'm not arguing.
Please just direct your closing statement to the jury. That's what you need to be doing, not arguing with me.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that, man. He keeps talking about 2 call logs, but 2 people were brutally murdered. Not talking about that part much, huh? Also, for the people that are just watching now, he didn't take the stand for cross-examination himself, which is interesting, but he cross-examined his own son. I thought it would be really interesting if he took the stand.
Here again, on my call log, let me pull this up and zoom in for you so y'all can see this. what's actually going on in Hillsborough County. Okay. You see the call that I showed you, me and Kenyatta shared at 23:15. We talked to each other. You see that, and it's reflected on March 18, 2018. At the same time that we actually called each other. It's not reflected in UTC time, but that's what they claim. But I'm going to show you that the calls are neither on here in Eastern Standard Time nor UTC time. Okay? Defense Exhibit 2B. My call should have been right there. It goes over to this next page. You see 23, you see 23:15, and then I have the next page starting at the top. It's 12:52. No call. Hold on one second. Yeah, no call at 23:49. But I made a call. You heard the HCSO records custodian, Rebecca McLean. She said that we both made those calls. And my call was made at 23:49. But on this T-Mobile call log, you do not see 23:49. Because they removed it from the call log after I called for an investigation. They said, okay, you see this 348 here? This 348 says outgoing by me, my number 369-2575, to my dad, 406-3445. I made a call to my dad. I know that I made the 911 call before calling my dad. But you do not see the 911 call there.
It's after. A minute after.
Now they say, since I called my dad at 23:48, it should actually be right there after the 23:15. Okay? You do not see any more 23s, but I made a call to my dad at 23:48, and I made a call to 911 at 23:49, but you don't see both of those calls. Defense Exhibit number 3. Your Honor, publishing Defense Exhibit number 3. This is a screenshot from my dad's phone, showing he got an incoming call from me at 11:48.
Incoming call.
And he also kept calling me back because it was an emergency. It was an emergency, and he knew something was wrong, so he kept calling me back 4 times. Why don't you see my dad calling me back those 4 times at 23:48? You only see 23:15. Going back in. And this is, see, they separated the paper like this so it'd be difficult to show you. But ain't nothing too hard when you put your mind to it. 2315. Right after it, you see no more 23s. Now, why is that? I called my dad at 2348. He called me back at 2349. He called me back again at 2350. You don't see that up there. It jumps to 1252 in military time. It's a bunch of calls missing from 23, the hour of 23, which is the hour of this incident. Now I'm going to just say this one more time. They said that the calls are reflected in UTC time, which means if I called 911 at 11:49, it would show up 23:49, 24:49, 1:49, 2:49, 3:49. Okay.
Hold on one second. Let me just see real quick because I see like the connection bouncing a little bit. Let me just give it 1 minute. I just want to make sure it's okay for you guys. That it plays back all right. Dealing with Comcast all day. Yeah, it's doing a little buffering. Let's just give it 1 second. Make sure we're good. There we go. I think it's stabilizing. Let's just give it a second. How's it looking for you guys on your end? Is it smooth? Is it buffering? And now the connection is doing its funny business. Let's give it a second. Okay. What's the 2? We see how many people. Okay. All right. I think it's. Shit. No, the connection's kind of dropping. How's it looking for you guys? Is it all right on your end? Still got like half to go. I think it's stabilizing. Let me see. YouTube not receiving enough video. Let me type it in the chat. Damn, bro. This thing is acting up again. Thank you for the super chat, Annette. Appreciate that from Miami. Buffering. Let me open up my own video. Yeah, it looks like it's buffering. What do we look like here? Let's see. Buffering. Yeah, Comcast. Oh my god, bro. Yeah. See it. Yeah, I can see myself. Oh Lord, what are we gonna do with this crap? Your connection's great. Okay, we're just giving it 1 or 2 minutes, trying to let it settle a little bit, and then we'll get back. I still have to. And these people, for people that watched the stream, the beginning of this, it's. I think it's stabilizing. I think because it's just jumping, dropping, jumping, dropping. I've been going back and forth with these people forever. I contacted customer service. It's jumping back up, but it's like jumping up and down. And these people called me while I was live streaming. I played the call, and he's like, "Sir, your connection is working. It's okay." And then look, where we're at. We're buffering. Let me see. Going out, coming back in. Yeah, it's just something on my end. It's Comcast. So I think it's starting to. I'm gonna start it again. Just watching the connection. Okay, I think I'm gonna start it again. I know it's buffering. I see it here too. On my end, it's buffering. Yep. Oh my god. A moment where we had so many people here, all this stuff. Comcast is screwing me over. I should send this to them too. I should take a clip of this live stream and just send it to them. Now it's 0. Oh my god, yo. I'm gonna need a drink after this. Just like, yo, I'm trying not to blow up and snap on these people. It's Comcast crap. Let's see. Yeah. Because we still got a little less than halfway to go. It would be nice if this kind of stabilized and worked. Okay, I think it should work out. Okay. Okay. I think we're back. It's 2021. They should have this thing figured out. I think we're back. Maybe not. All right, I'm gonna try to start the video again, and we'll see. Fuck. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna play it, and we'll see how it goes. Raylan, somebody told me that today. Buy my own router and modem. I might do that. I think I'm gonna do that. I think there's like an outside line issue, but they've already been up on the tree. They changed out the line supposedly. I might go buy a modem today. I might go buy a modem right after this and see what happens. Oh, the trolls are going to love this too. Yes! His connection's down. We sabotage him. So happy. Glad. Take iCkEdMeL down. Yeah, it's oh my god, yo. And I think they canceled my appointment. You're good at my end. All right, I'm just gonna play it, and we'll go through and see how it comes through. Let's try it.
But how is that? Again, I already showed you plainly. Everybody knows that when you make a plain call, it shows up in standard Eastern time. But I'm going to prove it to you even further that the calls don't show up in no UTC time. She made a call to her brother boss. She made a call to me. At what time? 11:15. She made a call to me at 11:15 at 3:18. $11:15 military time. Kenyatta Barron called me right there at 3/18/2018. So the calls ain't reflected in no UTC time. They made that excuse so they could try to get out of the truth of what happened that night. And they thought that I was going to let counsel represent me, so it would have never got out to you.
Evidence.
What we thought.
Sustain the objection. That's an improper statement in closing argument. Don't make it again, please.
Yeah, I just lost like 300 people. Oh, Lordy Lord.
My sons. And you're going to have those exhibits for yourselves so you can go over it and take your time looking at it yourselves to see whether I'm lying or not. I just showed you, but you're going to have those exhibits along with you when you go back. He told you
Tampering with the video.
that my
Yeah.
son
Thank you. I needed that laugh, man. It's been so frustrating.
that I stabbed him. and you heard him, he did say that. But on March 26th, he told Detective Dirks, after Detective Dirks asked him, did your dad hurt you the night of the incident? And he said, no, he did not hurt me. This is official documents recorded under oath by the lead detective in this case. They already knew that. But ain't no telling what will happen from then to now that he's saying all this all of a sudden. Because he's been adopted by Mr. Richard Blair, who worked in the case, and he also was at homicide conventions in Walt Disney World and the Bucks game with the lead detective in the case, who had no business around him if they planned on calling him as a witness. Because who can prove to me that he was not coerced and compelled to say what he said that day? Nobody can prove to me that you did not coerce my son to say those things. You cannot legitimately say that nobody did because his statements are contradictory to what he said before under oath. He talked to you about the blood on the floor, and he talked to you about the blood in the clothing in the garage. Okay. I went in and got my son, and we came out of the garage. And he was hurt, bleeding. So, of course, his blood is going to be on the floor on those clothing where he was leaking blood. He told you that I grabbed an axe and beat my daughter or chopped her to death. You don't know what happened to my daughter. But you better believe I know what happened to my daughter, and that's why Kenyatta Barron is dead. They told you nothing but accusations and assumptions and guesstimations. They have not proved beyond a reasonable doubt that I killed my daughter or stabbed my son. Because for the bottom line is my son said something different to what he already said, so that's a reasonable doubt right there. He told you way in the beginning when I wanted, I ain't even going to say that because I know you're going to object to that. But he already said that I did not hurt him.
I'm gonna do a little poll right now for the people watching. This is what we can do. We can either keep pushing through this, or we can come back in a while, and I'll continue off from this point. And if they come back, because right now I can see it myself too. This shit is buffering like crazy. And I don't know what's going on with the connection. It just literally pooped. So I don't know if there's another part of this coming out later, but I can see the constant buffering. And if it's like a pain in the ass for you guys, man, I don't want you to have to like sit and the screen is just refreshing, you know? I should call that number back. Hello, sir. Everything is fine. It's incredible with these people. What's been going on with Comcast. And I was looking at the forums. It looks like a lot of people have been having issues. And it's just right now the internet is going at 2.5 up. It's supposed to be at least 40 plus, but the upstream is 2.5. The stream is set for 5, and it's not even doing that. It's doing less than what it's supposed to do. It even dropped to 1.7 now. So I think this is going to be kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Doing a whole stream. This is just crazy, man. I don't know what else to do with this. Let me take a look at myself here. And the stream looks like it's pretty behind. Holy crap, I don't know. I'm looking at it over here. I don't know. I think it's actually back to normal. Let me see. I think the connection's back to normal, guys. Let me double check. Oh, hello. Guy's not answering. Yo, this is what we're gonna do. It looks like the connection's back, or not. Fucking A. Yeah, let's end it right here, and I'll come back when the second part of the recess starts again, or whatever. Once they finish whatever the recess they're doing, I think that's what we should do. Because it's unstable. I think I hit some sort of marker too. It's 2 hours in. Keep pushing. I think I should shut everything off, reset the computer, reset the modem, everything, because everybody's saying keep going. Say fuck it, keep going, man, keep going. Fuck it. It dropped to 0. Keep pushing. Y'all want to keep doing? All right, fuck it. All right, fuck it, man. Fine. Fuck it.
He told you that I told my son on this fraudulent audio to go get a knife. Okay. I sat right there and showed you that he told my counsel when they went and deposed him for deposition. Miss Carolyn Schindler and Jennifer Bradley asked him, "Did your dad tell you to go get anything?" He said, "No." But all of a sudden, Thursday of trial, he's saying all of these things and accusations towards his dad.
You see?
His real dad. You sat right there and seen when Ronald Gale got up to question my son. The first thing he asked him, "You like to play games?" And he talked about dogs.
Oh shit, she's for real. Yo, Lynn. Okay.
My favorite game is Black Ops. And I try to get into games.
Judge,
This is what happened in trial.
Didn't happen.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Your Honor, this didn't happen?
Mr. O'Neal,
He asked him-
please don't argue with
Okay.
me. We had a
Slow-mo.
colloquy with the child outside of the presence of the jury, and I think you're confusing those two. Please just stick to the evidence that the jury heard. Thank you.
Okay.
I wonder if that's what it is. Somebody said modem capacitor heated up. Could that be a thing too?
I know. Please
I'm not
don't.
going to argue.
Thank you. Thank you. Please just continue on.
Yes, ma'am. He talked about me smelling like gasoline. If you was doused with gasoline like I was doused and set